sometimes I watch our podcast and I'm like, wow, I'm beautiful. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I look like a fucking disgusting alien. Hey guys, my name is Rhea.
Hey, I'm Gabby. All right, let's just get into it.
What the fuck ever, man.
You know what? Podcast hosts need to be honest.
I agree. We're both having kind of hard days.
Sometimes it's just like that.
Not like the worst of days, but like the kind of day where you're doing your hair and you have the impulse to smack yourself in the head with your brush.
Have you ever... This is crazy of me to say, but have you ever done something so dumb and you go...
Yes. Yes. When I'm really upset and I'm alone...
Yes,
That's
when I do it.
Freak.
Yeah.
I'm an actual, like, if somebody like saw what I was doing, they would genuinely be like, you need to be like in a mental hospital.
I agree. I couldn't last a week by myself. Anyways, so let's get into it.
Today we're going to be giving dating advice. If you don't think we're trustworthy,
well, think again.
I'm not wearing mine, but I have one too.
Yes,
I have one too.
Hey, I'm Gabby Subaha.
And I'm Rhea Carmona, and this is So True Bestie, the first podcast ever started by two best friends, by the two most trustworthy and informational sources you will ever know in your entire life.
That should be in our wiki.
It really should.
It's crazy that you just wrote that.
Anyways, today, like we said, we are going to be talking about dating in your 20s. Gabby is 29.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 30. And I am newly engaged. Gabby is almost 1 year married.
Holy shit.
I know, it's crazy. And so, you know, we've
got a lot to say.
Yeah, we've got something to say that's meaningful and helpful, I think. You know, we dated a ton in our 20s, and it can be hard. It can be hard in your 30s. I mean, dating in general right now, I think in this era is really, really intense and insane.
Mm-hmm.
And
we have some things to say about it.
Some things to say about it.
Should we start with our ins and outs, though?
We should. You know what? I'll go first.
You should go first.
I never go first, but I feel confident today.
Okay. Give us what you got.
Scam call.
Answer. Holy shit, dude. That was... Imagine being on the other end being like... Okay, go on.
Okay.
Oh my god. Do you feel like you're in a tizzy today? Because
Yes.
I feel like I'm in a tizzy.
I feel like I'm gonna wake up in an hour and be like, and text you and be like, I had the craziest dream that we like recorded the most batshit insane podcast episode.
I feel like I stayed awake and I drank NyQuil an hour ago.
Which means this is gonna be our best episode yet. My in is actually very kind of wholesome. My in is watch parties.
Oh.
So it's January, and the amount of people that I have had hit me up and be like, are you doing a Super Bowl party again this year? And I started thinking about it. Why is it just the Super Bowl that we have a bunch of people over and get snacks and we all watch something together? Because that shit is so fun. I don't give a shit about football. I don't know anything about football, frankly. I don't know like one rule about football, frankly. I really don't. I know everything about basketball, but I don't know anything about football. But I love the Super Bowl because it's a fun time.
And the snacks, the camaraderie, the cheering.
And honestly, I feel like half the people who go to Super Bowl parties also don't care about football.
Didn't we do something like a couple years ago where we watched the Super Bowl and then we watched Euphoria all together, and it was so amazing? Do you remember that?
Yes. And it's so fun. I, went to a girlfriend's house last night, and it was just me and Kellen and her husband to watch some like ridiculous Bravo, reunion. But it's so fun to all come together. And even if you don't all watch it, like her husband doesn't watch that show, but he's just like sitting on the couch with us. We're eating like McDonald's. We're getting high. It's so fun.
I agree. What's a show you're excited about?
So they actually showed us a show last night called Couples Therapy. Have you heard about it?
No.
It's on Showtime, which is now Paramount Plus, which is annoying.
Yeah.
But it's literally real couples. Some have been together for like a couple years. Some have been together for like 25, 30 years. They're like adults with like grown kids. And it shows every single couples therapy counseling session from the beginning to the end of like when they decide either to like stay together or not. And
are these people celebrities?
They're not celebrities. They're regular people. It doesn't give reality at all.
Okay.
It gives almost more like documentary. It's very serious. It's really, really, really good. It's really, really, really good.
What a crazy concept for a show, though, don't you think?
Yeah. It's It's amazing.
Do they win a prize? Like if they come out on top?
It's literally, it's like I said, it's just a documentary. It's not really like reality, like game show vibes. It's essentially like a documentary about couples therapy.
What's the span of time that they are doing this?
I believe, I've only watched the first episode, but I believe it's 3 months.
Oh,
3 months of weekly sessions.
Okay.
It's good.
Do you have a favorite couple?
Every couple, it's interesting because when you see all these couples in the context of couples therapy, you just see all their flaws. So every couple is like, I don't not dislike or like them. I empathize with all of them. They're all just like real couples dealing with like.
But how brave, honestly, like to air your shit out like that.
For sure. Because I was thinking about, I was like, oh, this is so funny because a lot of it does read a lot like Kellen and I's couples therapy sessions. And I would never let that shit air.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Never.
I don't want people to see that side of me.
And it's cool because then there are scenes where they show the couples counselor talking to her therapist. Like grappling with like what she should do in certain situations.
That's
and stuff.
so real because therapists should have therapists.
Yeah. It's very very good.
That's
I
a
highly
good
recommend it. But anyways, watch parties are sick, and people should be like inviting their friends over more to like watch fun things and enjoying snacks together.
We're gonna have the Vanderpump Rules one.
Exactly, and I'm looking forward to it. I was looking forward to last night. It was so fun.
Yep.
I'm already looking forward to the Super Bowl. Like I love shit like that.
I love a watch party.
Yeah,
I love watching things with my friends. All right, what's your out?
My out. Let me give you some context. Last night, I made a TikTok having an opinion. And honestly, I don't think the opinion was a really hot take. It was a negative opinion, yes. But it really wasn't a hot take. I think 99% of people in the comments agreed with me. Having an opinion on TikTok is terrifying. And so my out is having an opinion. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't want to have an opinion anymore. Online.
But not in the real world, right?
That's fine. In the real world, I'll stay, but definitely not online. Because here's my thing, and you know me, I have dogged on like influencers or TikTok people who are huge, who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and all they do is like voiceover videos. Because I'm like, have an opinion, have a personality. And then I did it, and I'm like, no, actually, I understand. I'm going back to just aesthetic videos and fucking hauls because you guys are mean, and I don't like it, and I don't want to do it. You don't get rewarded for having an opinion, other than the fact that you get views. But it's like all like negativity. It's not fun. I had people being like, oh, another person who just fucking stitches videos for views. It was my first stitch. I've been on TikTok for years. I have hundreds of videos. It was my first stitch. I had somebody call me racist against myself. Literally said that they were going to defend me against myself, a white person.
But that brings us back to our point 2 episodes ago where we were like, people should have a notification that comes onto their screen that says, are you sure you want to comment this?
That's true.
Because here's the thing, and I'm going to sound like a boomer. It's insane to me that we nitpick every little thing that somebody does. If I say I like oranges and Rhea says she likes apples, there's going to be somebody out there that's like, Gabby, how fucking dare you like oranges? Da, da, da. It's like, that's my opinion.
Yes, that's literally what I kept wanting to scream at these people. It's just like, that's my opinion. And also,
and it's not hurting anybody.
It's not hurting anybody.
It's not hurting the girl that you made it about. You didn't even say anything bad about her.
In fact, not only did I not say anything bad about her, because I had one girl who called me a mean girl for saying this woman was a brat. She was objectively acting like a brat. That's not mean girl behavior. But in fact, I will go as far as saying I was deleting comments where people were being mean to her that had nothing to do. Like if people were just calling her annoying, if people were coming for her looks or something, I was deleting those comments.
See, I wish you would have kept the video up so that people had context, because I feel like given context, people do validate an opinion more. Like
no, they don't.
Oh.
No, they don't.
I guess I'm not online.
I literally had people be like, basically the video, I'm not going to get into it so deep, but basically I was just like, this girl like was so annoying about needing a refund on this dress that she had worn, and
from like a corporation.
Yeah. But because I thought that her behavior was whack, all of a sudden now I'm like a corporate bootlicker, and I kept telling people like, oh, I actually don't give a shit about the corporation, I just don't really like her behavior. And people would literally respond and be like, I don't believe you. And I'd be like, no, but that's not like, that's not what I meant. They'd be like, well, no, that is what you meant. I know that's what you meant in your head.
Do you ever go onto the person's page and see like what they're about? Like when they comment something like that?
It was honestly all different types. They were all young. They were all like rocks for brains, TikTok idiots. But it was just.
Does TikTok have an age requirement?
I actually don't think so.
They should. They oughta. It should be when you're 25 and your fucking prefrontal cortex is fully developed.
I completely
Jesus Christ.
I completely agree. But anyways, it just was like the people who have made an entire career out of having like negative opinions on TikTok, the people who are like constantly stitching, and a lot of times their opinions are great, but they are braver than the Marines.
See,
I'm never having an opinion again. Never.
Maybe you should have a secret account called Rhea's Opinions.
I'm just too sensitive, frankly, to be honest. That's a big part of it. Like, at the end of the day, the comments weren't even that bad.
I would
but,
just
like,
hide the comments
I'm too
if I were you.
sensitive. That's true.
I would have just put my truth out there and hidden the comments. What are they going to do?
That's true.
They can stitch it. I'm not looking. I'm going like this. Someone stitches my stitch. I'm not looking.
That's what Kellen says. Kellen's like, just throw it like a flash bomb in a room and close the door.
I would have done that.
I cannot do that. It's not my personality.
Yeah.
So that tells me that I'm not the person to have opinions online.
But you can tell me your opinions.
Yes.
I'll listen.
And I'll tell you guys because
this is a safe space.
this is a safe space.
Okay. My in is early dinner. And first off, I'm Hispanic. We have dinner at 9 p.m.
Yes.
But there is something about early dinner that just hits different. I'm intermittent fasting right now, and so I can't eat after 8 p.m. Boy, does a chili hit at 5 p.m. It is crazy, dude. And then you have your little snack. I don't know if I'm getting older. Maybe this is entering 30s, but if you're about early dinner, then I'm about you.
I love that, honestly. I'm kind of the same way. When I am like planning, a group dinner with friends or a double date and they try to have dinner at like 9.
Yes. What is that about?
What is that about? Because then
I don't want to get home at midnight.
You can't even have dessert without getting a bellyache.
I agree.
Like you can't, even I feel like I have an iron stomach. Even I don't want like ice cream at 11 p.m.
You're actually not supposed to eat 3 hours before bedtime if you want to have really good sleep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Early dinner. I back that.
And then my out, some of you, speaking of an opinion, secret musicals. Get them out of here.
What is the secret musical?
Secret musicals are when you're sold an idea that the movie that you're about to see is not a musical. And then you get to the theater and let me paint a picture. You get your popcorn, you're sitting down, you're so excited. It's date night. You sit down, the movie starts, the dim lights come on. And Timothée Chalamet hits the first note of the shittiest song you've ever heard. Oh, I was pissed. I went to go see Wonka and I heard the first millisecond of that movie be a song. I was pissed.
Yeah. And I will say, you're a bona fide musical hater.
I hate musicals.
But I will say they definitely did not show that movie as a musical.
And why would you not promote it as a musical? Because there are musical lovers.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not be like, here's Willy Wonka the musical. Here's Mean Girls the musical.
Yeah.
Work with the audience that you have, because there's people walking out of Mean Girls. The rep that Mean Girls has right now is so shot because people are like, I walked out of it. I didn't know it was a musical. Then don't make it a musical.
And also, you know what? We don't have to get into this. That's going to be my out next week, is going to be remakes, because I'm over this. Okay. Mean Girls came out like 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Why is there already a remake?
Yeah.
Anyways.
And why are there so many influencers in it?
Can you tell where you're in bad moods today?
I'm pissed. Anyways, let's talk about dating, which makes me even more pissed. What if I went...
That's the
Dude. No, but you know what? I love our ins and outs. And maybe I'm biased, but...
I don't give a shit.
Also, I would love for you guys to tell us your ins and outs, because I feel like we're standing on an island where only we have opinions. I want to hear some ins and outs.
That's actually a good idea. Let's open the pit for ins and outs.
The opinion pit.
Open the opinion pit. Comment below your ins and outs.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Anyways, let's talk about dating in our 20s and how fun it was.
Okay, let me preface this by saying dating in our 20s, we did it in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think I would have had a similar experience even in Wisconsin, where I grew up.
Yeah.
Just different people.
Yeah, that's fair.
Different jobs.
Different jobs. Probably less Disney actors.
Probably less Disney actors.
But honestly, not to generalize, but men kind of act the same. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep. They do.
So you're right about that. What would you say was your most significant relationship of your 20s aside from Ryan?
Okay. Backstory. Ryan and I met when I was 23.
Right. So you were pretty young.
But I was dating prior to that.
Yeah.
My most significant relationship outside of Ryan, and we'll use code names for this. I'm going to name this guy Alan.
Okay.
Alan was my most significant relationship, because this man would write me love letters, emails.
Emails is crazy.
Dude, I would go out to see him like on his tours. I'm a big musician girl, unfortunately. But this man would not claim me for the life of him. If this man had a gun to his head and said, "Do you like Gabby Sabaha?" He'd be like, "I don't even know her." And that was a humbling.
This man was writing you emails.
Yes, and that was a humbling experience. So listen, it's a canon event. Everybody goes through it. Every girl goes through this.
Every girl falls in love with a man who could
Doesn't
not
claim
give
them.
less of a shit about them. Yeah.
But then, once 7 p.m. hits, daylight savings is, the sun setting, he does claim you.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come over."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've all been there.
So Alan definitely led me on in a way that was like so confusing, because I feel like I always see the good in people, and I was like, he's just going through it. He's just like, doing his thing and figuring out. But the way he talks to me outweighs what he shows in front of his friends. And if you're going through that right now, let me tell you, don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Have some self-respect, because I didn't.
I have been through situations like that too, where I look back and I give myself the ick
Yeah.
at the shit that I allowed to transpire in my bedroom, in my texts, in my brain. It is shocking what we will allow when we're younger and maybe just like don't have like the confidence or the self-respect. Or, I think a lot of times we're just like bright-eyed, and we, like you said, you want to see the best in someone, and you really want to believe that like the shit they're feeding you about like why they are acting the way they're acting is legitimate, and that one day they're going to wake up and everything's going to change.
And also, like, this is so new to us. Like, you go from high school and then you're immediately pushed into this real world, and you're like, I can't believe this person is saying one thing but doing another. It's all very confusing. You're learning and you think you know everything. God,
Yeah.
at 22, I thought I knew the world.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right, I'm just going to go with it. And if I get heartbroken, I get heartbroken.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, there's also like, I think oftentimes I have like romanticized men with issues.
Same.
And listen, a lot of that is me, but I do think that young men who are not ready to settle down have this uncanny ability to convince women that staying with them through their growth era, no matter how much abuse you're taking, is a romantic notion.
Yep.
It's not. And a lot of times those men aren't even getting the help they need to grow. Like, they're like, "Oh, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm young," but they've like never seen a therapist and like aren't thinking critically about the way that their actions are treating people. Like, they're not growing. They're just like young and they want to be pieces of shit. And there are a plethora of beautiful, amazing women who will allow them to do so.
You also kind of, and you touched on this, you also kind of need to realize that it is not your job to take care of a man, to show him how to be a decent human being, to make him a better person, because then you kind of forget yourself. Like, there were so many times when I was dating in my 20s where I would give so much to somebody and I wasn't showing up for myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't working on my dreams. I wasn't like being a better me. I was just making sure that they were okay and they were kept well. And eventually that person falls for the next person, and then that person who's dating them now reaps all the benefits of the work that you did.
Yeah, that's the worst part too. And I think honestly a lot of the times why I stayed in situations so long, because I was like, if I end this and they end up with the next person and they get to see the best side of them that I've sort of like instilled, I will burn this place to the ground. Like, that was just like not an option for me, when in reality I should have just been like, this person doesn't like you. Like, a lot of times that's what it is too. Like, I hate to say that, sounds really harsh. A lot of times the issue is not that like, it's like the bad timing or that they're not ready for a relationship. The issue is that they just don't really like you that much.
Yeah, they don't like you enough.
They don't like you enough. They like you just enough to kind of keep you around, but not enough to actually do anything about it. And also, I do want to say we're sort of using gendered terms because we're speaking from personal experiences, and we've mostly been in hetero relationships. But also, I've been that person. I have been the person who didn't like a guy enough to actually put in the effort or time, and I have strung people along too. Like, I was a piece of shit in my 20s too.
Same.
And so it's not always that specific, gender role. There have been times where, you know, there is some like cool, successful, handsome, young 20s dude, and he is totally fucking ready and he's done the work and I didn't. Or maybe I had, and again, I just didn't like him that much, but I was too much of an asshole to cut him loose because it was nice to have a warm body.
Yeah. I think the general, and I can speak for both of us here, I think we either went through two of these instances. One, a guy was like so enamored with us that it kind of gave us the ick of like, whoa, you're coming on too strong, you're like too healthy. And when you're not doing the work yourself, that's a turnoff.
Yeah.
And two is when a guy is hard to get or isn't giving you what you want and like what you deserve. And then you reach this point where you're like, well, I deserve that. Like that's going to be my mission for however long it takes. I'm going to land that guy. And I think like for both of us, we went through this thing where like, I don't know, we should have just shook each other. We should have just been like, what are we doing? What is this about? Because I look back at both of our dating history and who we ended up with, both of us, like you with Kellen, me with Ryan, isn't, I don't think, who we would have gone for back in the day.
Definitely not.
How would you describe dating in your 20s, your specific experience?
I mean, I had two fatal flaws dating in my 20s. One, and we should really talk about, we should expand on this. So I'll actually start with the one that we don't need to expand on as much. One, I was a serial monogamist. So I was honestly in a lot of like longer relationships. Like even my situationships would last at least 6 to 10 months. Like I was rarely hooking up with someone, regularly talking to someone, crushing on someone, falling for someone. That situation, even if they didn't like me that much or even if they weren't ready to commit, lasted less than like a year. So I feel like there were a lot of like big emotions because I was constantly like finding myself in situations where, again, even if we weren't dating, they were like sleeping over every night for months.
Yeah,
like,
I never really saw you single.
Yeah, rarely. And again, it's like I would try to date, but I mean, I don't know, they just fall in love with me. And then my second fatal flaw that I do think we should expand on is I hardcore played the cool girl trope. I was really, really that person. And I think a lot of women in their 20s are. You get this idea that if you are like quote unquote not like other girls and you are cool and chill and you have no needs whatsoever and you orgasm every time without the guy having to try, that they will like fall in love with you.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's like I've been my most difficult with Kellen and he loves me and would never leave me and has been so sure about me from the beginning, even with all my shit. And the people that I was the coolest with still didn't give a shit about me. It didn't matter how fucking cool I was. But that was such a big one for me. I hardcore played the people-pleasing, cool girl, I have no needs person, and it only ever negatively affected me. It never positively affected me. It never negatively affected anyone else. It only ever fucked me up.
Yeah. Well, you're putting like, and I totally agree with that for me as well. You're putting that person on a pedestal and you're like, I am only worried about what you need, that I'm not even thinking about, oh, is this person actually filling my cup or whatever?
Yeah.
That is a fatal flaw that a lot of women in their 20s, and you know, I'm speaking like from experience here, and I'm sure all types of people have kind of gone through this, but it is really hard to even define what you need at that age. Though it is so, I just found out who I was last year. So it is so hard to like demand what you need in certain situations. And sometimes you don't even know what you are. And you're like, how am I supposed to demand what I need if I don't even like know what we are? I don't even know what to call you. Like whether I'm a friend or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's an experience we all have to go through to get to where we are now. So you can't really escape that experience, I don't think. You can be smarter about it with hearing things like this, where you're like hearing stories about people that have gone through it and I kind of made it out on top, you know?
It's honestly true. And it's like, I don't want to like romanticize treating myself like shit, but all of that time that I spent kind of like cool girling and giving other people what they needed and not really giving myself what I needed really kind of made me learn what I did. You know what I mean? Like there are moments of clarity that I remember having in my 20s where I like hit a breaking point. And I was so incredibly unhappy. And I realized how much I had been bending over backwards for people who, frankly, didn't really give a shit about me. And you have those moments of clarity, and it's like it all comes together. And those are the moments where you've, I think, first clock, like, oh, whatever the fuck this is, it is not working for me.
Was that before age 25 or after age 25?
Unfortunately, actually, I'd say around that age. Like I think that like I have one memory of like the biggest moment of clarity that I ever had in a situationship, and I believe I was like 26, which maybe is a little old.
No, because I was gonna say like we really don't have those. So, like I was making the prefrontal cortex joke earlier, but we really don't have those. I guess things in us that know what's right and what's wrong before 25. Like we are kids before we're 25. I don't care if like the adult age is 18. We don't know jack shit.
Oh yeah. I was a dumbass when I was 24, straight up.
Exactly. And like at age 25, I was already in my relationship with Ryan, but I found myself demanding more things that I actually needed and putting myself first. Like even, you know, I met Ryan when I was 23 and now I'm 29. But like at 25, I had this pivotal moment where I was like, this is what I deserve. And if you're not going to give it to me, we have to split up. Me and Ryan almost broke up when I was 25.
Yeah.
Because I was like, holy shit, I've been showing up for you, but I haven't been showing up for myself. And, you know, that's not necessarily his fault. I've been I guess kind of letting this behavior go, but that was when I kind of realized I need to like figure out what I want and what I deserve.
How was that for you? Because that's one thing I always think about when I see couples who have been together since they were essentially children, you know, high school sweethearts, things like that, or even just like young 20s, late teens, and then they're still together kind of like late 20s. I think about how much change, you know, you go through that time. And I think I respect those couples so much because it's like, oh, you have been able to stay together through so many different phases and personalities and so much growth. It's like, but I can also see how the person who maybe needs to do like a little less growing or who changes maybe a little less is jarred by somebody who's like, oh, I'm a different fucking person now. And like, if you still love me, then you have to love this new version of me. Like how was navigating that?
And Ryan is 5 years older than me. So even in that too, we had a lot of differences in changing and growing up and whatever. So like if I was just figuring it out, Ryan had already figured it out.
Yeah.
Even now, I think that like I'm still trying to grow and figure things out. And I don't think that will ever change. It's just inherently in me. But I do feel bad for people who realize that they don't like something in a relationship and do nothing about it. And then, you know, that harbors resentment and you're like, why am I unhappy in this relationship? And I'm scared to talk to my partner. I have never been that kind of person. I've very much always been like, I don't like this, or like this needs to change, or like, this is who I am now, deal with it kind of person. It is jarring. It is, you know, if I came up to you tomorrow and I was like, hey, this is the new me and I'm a bitch, like you'd be like, all right.
And I'm a bitch.
Yeah. Like you'd be like, okay, I guess, whatever. It's hard for people to recognize when you're going through your own journey because I feel like people don't empathize with the fact that they have already gone through theirs.
Yeah.
For me, it's, I do a lot of worksheets with Ryan. I do a lot of like, sometimes, you know, you can't talk about things fully. And so I'll be like, what is working in our relationship? What's not working? How can I support you in this? And I think that that's what's helped us throughout our relationship because I have been many versions of myself since I was 23.
Yeah.
What's a significant relationship that you had in your 20s that's not who your partner is now?
I mean, I had who I guess maybe, do I consider him my first love? I'd say I consider him my first like adult love. Again, I was young and I was like immature, but you know, we'll call him Mark, was my first, I would say, like real big, like, oh, you know, we are meeting each other's families and we are getting more emotional and deep than I've ever gotten with someone, and we are sharing space, we're living together. You know, we almost got engaged. Like this was like
you were the first adult couple that I really saw as a young 20-year-old.
And you know, there are goods and bads with that. I learned so much from him, and I'm sure he learned so much from me. But those lessons came at a cost. You know, I'm still flawed, but I was so flawed in that relationship. I was jealous and possessive and insecure, And I just had a ton of issues. And I learned a lot about how to be a better partner in that relationship. But unfortunately, usually like those big learning relationships don't always last, because it's like that it takes a toll on you. You know, I remember when that relationship finally fully ended after years, and it was sad and it was heartbreaking, and I loved that person. But it was also like I felt exhausted when it ended, because I was just like, it's just years of like chaos and like ripping yourself open and like, you know, pulling things out of yourself and filling yourself with new things. I mean, it's so much growth, and I appreciate that person so much, but it was fucking exhausting.
It's very passionate.
It was very passionate.
In both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, the funny thing is we're good friends now.
Yeah.
He's invited to my wedding. You know what I mean? Like, he is friends with Kellen, and he doesn't live in this state anymore, but we, you know, talk on the phone once a month. Like, I think a lot of times people feel weird about people being friends with exes. And we've talked about this a lot on other episodes or other podcasts, but when you go through that much with someone, it's like he's just part of my life. And we might not always be super close, and we might even go 6 months, a year without talking, but that's just like an inescapable bond.
Yeah, you know each other so deeply. It's like, how can you walk past each other and like know each other that well and not have some kind of friendship from it?
Yeah, exactly. Were you ever on dating apps?
I was on Tinder, because I don't think that Hinge and Bumble were a thing yet.
That's crazy, because I feel like people hear Tinder now and it's like the Wild West, but Tinder was just kind of like a normal dating app when you were on it.
For me, Tinder was just Hinge and Bumble put together when I was on it.
Because it was like normal people. Like now I feel like it's a lot of like sex pests.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But at the time, it was just like normal dudes.
Oh, for sure. And I'm still friends with some dates that I went on.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
And they're so cool, you know. But I hated dating. Like, I hated the whole thing where you tell your life story to this person, or you tell your life story to a second person and whatever. It just felt kind of like a script at one point.
Yeah.
And from then on, I just kind of realized that I liked dating friends of friends. You know, it was like they were far removed, but like you still kind of knew them.
Yeah.
And they still kind of knew you.
You had like a jumping off point.
Exactly. So I was never super into dating apps. No, were you?
You know, I wasn't. I think I probably had a little bit more experience with them than you, just because I feel like the rise of, you know, Raya and Bumble and Hinge happened. You were already kind of with Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple single moments. I've never been on or had a Bumble or Hinge account or Tinder. This is such a red flag. I've only ever had Raya. And I think it's because I don't really like dating apps. There's something very scary to me about like meeting up with a stranger. I'm the same way. I like to date people that have been like vetted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Raya, frankly, just felt like something like more fun. Like, this is more of just like a fun, weird, niche LA thing.
It was also kind of exclusive, so you couldn't just sign up for it.
Right. At the time when I was on it, you know, it had kind of just popped off, and I had to get like multiple recommendations from people and like show that I had a bunch of followers and stuff, which is so ridiculous. But I think because of that like weird aspect, it felt like more like downloading a game than a dating app, which is probably why it was the only one I was ever on. And I met a couple people on it. I'm trying to think who well, it's interesting because now people are always like, oh, Raya has no famous people, but at the time there were, and I feel like you were purposely getting matched with them to like pique your interest and make you want to stay on the app. My very, very, very first match ever on Raya was Niall Horan.
What?
Yeah. We never spoke. We never like, you know, went on a date or anything, but technically he was my first match. I also matched with and actually chatted with for a while Matthew Gray Gubler.
So hot.
I know. That was super fun. He was weird in a very cute way. Like, he like messaged me. We matched, and his first message to me was, "I miss you." And I like sent him question marks, and then he never spoke to me again. That was my dating experience with Matthew Gray Gubler. A lot of DJs.
Ugh.
A lot of DJs.
No offense to DJs, but ugh.
I don't think I ever actually went on a date from Raya. Oh, I had multiple FaceTime dates with that guy Noah Centineo. Should I be saying these names? Who cares? Whatever. They're not even real people. They're just celebrities.
Hold on, that would cut me off.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I invited him to a game night.
Ew.
I know.
I remember that, actually. Why is that coming back?
I don't think I was Hollywood enough for him. Like, I think he was like, this is kind of when he was peaking a little.
He had just had that movie.
Yeah. And then I'm just some random girl who was like, do you want to come over to a game night with my roommates? He was probably like, literally no.
To me though, I feel like if you're a celebrity on Raya, right? How do you say that? Raya?
I think it's Raya.
Raya. I'm just scrolling for fun. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like an ego thing too. Like you see so many pictures and like how do you choose the person that you want to be with? That's my problem with dating apps. I feel like it feels more like a game rather than like, am I dating to find somebody to have a connection with? You know Completely. What I mean?
We have had friends who would tell us that they would like, these are like, you know, I feel like there are two types of people. There are people who like maybe dabble in dating apps, do it once or twice, but aren't really on it. And there are people who like love it. Like they're scrolling the way you're scrolling, like, you know, Instagram. And we have had friends who have told us that they would literally be hooking up with a guy, turn over and start scrolling.
It's probably addictive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
To get that instant gratification of somebody I think is cute thinks I'm cute and it's immediate.
Yes.
Or super liked or whatever.
There's no mystery. Because it's like if somebody matches you, you already know that they, at the very least, are attracted to you. There's no mystery anymore.
And I think that's why every single guy that I was with in my 20s or had a situationship or whatever, I organically met at a party. I was never on an app like that because, I don't know, I like the little like, are you interested in me?
Yes.
Or like, are you like, what's the vibe
the
here?
Game.
The sexual tension.
Yes, it's fun. That's like the most fun part about dating. And that it just is not
so lost.
Yeah, it's so lost on dating apps. There's also like, we've talked about this, but like the paradox of choice.
Ugh.
Like people wonder why everybody has commitment issues now, and it's like, how could you not? When there are literally millions of people just waiting to be matched with you on a dating app. It's like, how are you supposed to choose with an unlimited amount of options? And so I think not being on dating apps has maybe helped to in terms of the fact that I feel like I haven't like had you know, we have friends unfortunately who have just had like terrible dating luck and like just cannot figure it out. And
also it's just like kind of creepy to go, I don't know, maybe I'm just old and in a married relationship now, but it's kind of creepy to go on a date with somebody you know nothing about.
Are you no mutual friends?
Me? That's so scary. I'd have you in a booth next door to where I'm sitting.
I'm the same way. I think I'm far too distrusting. I've watched too much true crime.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not getting in a guy's car.
No.
Go to his house?
No.
Go to my house? No.
Absolutely not. Can we talk about the Disney actor?
We can talk about the Disney actor.
Did you meet Disney actor at a party? We can just call him Disney actor. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
I met this, guys, this is a crazy story. I met Disney actor. He's from a very popular show on Disney. I'm not going to say which one. And he's so cute. Still to this day.
Handsome as a motherfucker. Yeah.
So I'm at this party and it sounds like a fucking Netflix movie when I tell you this. Everybody is like whispering that, oh my God, so-and-so is here. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I used to watch the show. My sister likes the show. And my friend, let's call her Sarah, is making eyes at him. And I think he's making eyes at her, but he's making eyes at me. Would you believe? And I always had this thing where I think I'm uglier than what I am. Like, I just think that, like, the white girl next to me is prettier for some reason.
Right.
Especially in those situations.
There's no way the Disney star is making eyes at you.
Yeah. And so he comes up to me and asks for my name. And I'm like, flush, dude. And we spent the entire night outside of the party sitting on the little driveway talking.
That is so you. That is literally every like meet cute you've ever had sounds like a goddamn John Green novel.
The sun came up, dude. He ordered my Uber and I just went home and
the sun came up.
But he was so sweet. And then I invited him over to our apartment when you and I lived together. And I think we had just moved in. And you're very good at like immediately setting your room up. You like to set up the vibes and everything. I'm more of like a slow burner. I'd like a mattress on the floor. Like I was working at Wells Fargo making $10 an hour. And my room was not ready. So I wanted to impress Disney actor. And so we took down any photos that you had in your room that were of you, and I pretended that it was my room, and you went to your boyfriend's house, Mark's house that night, and he came in and he's like, oh, I love your room.
Thanks.
I was pretending it was mine. And this is where it took a turn. He goes, do you have any snacks? And I go, oh yeah, we just got like Thin Mints. Do you want some? eats the whole sleeve.
That's crazy.
Actually eats both sleeves. Doesn't offer me one.
The whole box
of mine. Yeah. And by the way, they were your
I was just about to say
Thin
they were probably my Thin Mints.
Mints. They were your Thin Mints, dude. And I thought he was going to have like one.
He ate the whole box?
The whole box. Proceeds to tell me that he's a Leo and then roars in my face. And then I found out that he was dating like a 45-year-old like yoga instructor. And
not
to
to
be
be that bitch, but this is so Leo behavior. Every Leo in the world has said they were a Leo and then roared while eating your snacks.
And then had a secret girlfriend. And then I saw him at a Halloween party, like, I don't know, like 8 months later. And he was like, Gabby. And it was so actor core.
Gabby.
And I was like, hi, bye. But man, was that guy hot.
That guy was fine as hell. You guys would have had gorgeous children.
But honestly, I would never, and I know I used to go for musicians a lot, and I'm married to one now. I would never go for an actor, I don't think.
They're just theater kids.
They're honestly, that's a great way to put it. They're just theater kids.
They are. Yeah. I had an actor. I had an actor once. Gabby had Disney star. I had...
No. Think of a name.
We'll call him the CW.
Yeah. That's good.
Can't get too specific.
Yeah. CW.
We'll call him the CW. He was so gorgeous as well. And just a total narcissist.
Oh.
Just a total narcissist. But we had fun together. You know what? It's so funny because when you are in your early 20s, I feel like, and you're dating, and especially if you were like dating in LA and you're new to it, and maybe like you're not in the scene, but you're dating people in the scene. The bar is so low for what's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I look back and I think about like the way that the CW guy dressed. And it's like, what was I thinking?
But was it cool for that time?
No.
Oh.
This man... Listen,
what did he wear?
There's a way for a man to wear a leather motorcycle jacket, and it is niche and it's tough.
I feel like his way of wearing it like made him look like a method actor.
Yes, it looked like he was always auditioning for Grease.
Yeah,
and he would always pair it with like this smirk, and he would
wait, do the smirk.
Ew. And he would always pair it with like Chelsea boots.
But we had a great time. He was a narcissist in Chelsea boots, but we had a great time.
You know what?
No. You know what?
C'est la vie.
We were impressionable. We were in Los Angeles. Listen, everybody falls for an actor at one point when they live out here.
It's true.
It's true.
And it's always the worst time of your life.
Yes. Weren't you guys going to go like on a road trip or something?
Okay, so first of all, this man and I saw each other for like 6 months, but like very regularly. Like we were going on dates like multiple times a week. We were sleeping together, which like I don't really care what you do, but I don't do that like it was like a big deal. You know what I mean? He was taking me to like events, like red carpet events, and like wanting to like take photos together.
You guys were like monogamous.
Maybe in my head. And then one day, literally out of nowhere, he was like gonna go to do like a movie in a different place, and he was gonna be gone for like 3 months, and we had been talking about how I was gonna go visit him and all this stuff and blah blah blah. The night before his trip, we were supposed to hang out. I texted him to like confirm plans, never texted me back, never spoke to me again, but continued to follow me on Instagram and like all my photos, but never spoke to me again. Immediately started very publicly dating his famous co-star. And then, like 2 years later, kind of like we did that dance where it was like, oh, we like saw each other for a while and then you ghosted me. And like now we've been Instagram friends for years, and like once a year when we're both single, we like flirt for a week until one of us gets bored of the situation.
Yeah.
And during one of those times, this was like right before I met Kellen, he was like trying to convince me to like fly to wherever he was making a movie and then wanted us to road trip back to LA together.
Ew.
Psychopath behavior.
Ew.
And then when I announced my engagement on Instagram, he finally unfollowed me like last year.
Oh, I've had that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the good riddance
Yes,
of Los Angeles.
Yes, absolutely.
Once you get engaged.
Oh,
What's a crazy thing a guy has done for you or to you in your 20s?
okay. I have 2 stories. I'm gonna give one. Let's give our good and then our bad.
Okay.
Because I thought of a really crazy bad and a really crazy good.
Okay.
So a really crazy. Should we do bad first, since we're talking about bad anyway?
Yeah.
So this is terrible, but I feel like everybody who's like been in a situationship has dealt with something like this. This was that moment that I was talking about. That moment of clarity where you're like, oh my god, I deserve so much better than this. So I was in a situationship with this guy. And he was one of those people that like wasn't really a bad guy, wasn't a narcissist. He wasn't leading me on. He was always pretty honest about the fact that he like didn't want a girlfriend, which means he just didn't really like me that much.
Wait, what are we calling him?
Sam.
Okay.
And like I said, Sam was pretty honest about, there are like a couple different types of like young fuckboys. This was one of those ones that was like very honest about where he was, but when we hung out still like treated me like a girlfriend, which was very confusing for me. Maybe it wasn't confusing. Maybe I was just a dumbass. They're like screaming in my face, I don't like you. And I'm like, I'm confused.
No, first off, I do think that when a guy does something but says something differently, it's confusing.
Yeah. And if you want to believe one or the other, you're going to believe that one. Anyways, I was very sure that like if I hooked up with this person long enough that they would fall in love with me. And I don't know what we were doing, but the plan was we were like meeting at my apartment and then we were going to go get dinner. And I really, really, really wanted this man to sleep over. Really, really wanted them. Because to me, sleepovers are like, they're intimate. And most of the time in situationships, sleepovers aren't a thing. And so they wanted to hook up and then go get dinner. And I was like, no, let's go get dinner first. Because in my head, I knew that if he had already gotten what he wanted and then we went to dinner, he would leave and wouldn't sleep over. So I was like, no, like, why don't we go get dinner and then we can come home, we can hook up and then you can sleep over. And they were like, no. Like, I really, really, really want to hook up right now. But like, I will definitely still sleep over. So we hook up, we go to dinner, the check comes. Oh, I'm getting kind of tired. I actually don't think I'm going to be able to sleep over. And like something literally clicked in my brain. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I literally remember being like, I don't actually want to do this anymore.
At dinner?
Yeah. Like the second he was like, I'm not sleeping over, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Did he pay the check?
Yes. And he was very understanding. He was like, listen, I get it. And
did he realize why you said that?
Yes, I think so.
Well, yeah, duh.
And he was very much like, listen, like, I would continue this. I would like to continue this. But, like, I also think it's pretty obvious that, like, I'm not going to be able to give you what you want. So if that's how you feel, then, like, all good. That man didn't like me.
Yeah.
I look back now. That man didn't like me. He didn't. He did not like me. And I wanted him to like me so bad that I was, like, forcing the issue. And then I feel like when I met Kellen, I looked back on all those situations and I was like, oh, it's actually really obvious when someone likes you.
Yeah.
You don't have to read between lines.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about what texts mean or how long they're taking. No, it's so fucking obvious when somebody decides on you.
Yeah. If they wanted to, they actually would.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's if he wanted to, he would story you have?
Okay. My story isn't if he wanted to, he would. It's more so like, bro, what the fuck? So I was seeing this guy. He was younger than me, which I don't typically go for. I typically go for my age or a little bit older.
Yeah.
Let's call him Giuseppe. And Giuseppe, he's Italian. Giuseppe, he was so smitten with me.
He was.
Bless his heart. And he was so cute.
Adorable. Yeah.
So cute.
You have an incredible track record, I will say.
Yeah, he was very, very attractive. And I think he was just young and like thought I was cool for like being older, like didn't really like me, maybe liked the idea of me. And one time he was sleeping over, and I was definitely one of those girls. I strung men along for sure. I was definitely one of those girls where I would like hook up and be like, all right, bye, like see you later, you can't sleep over kind of thing. One of the nights I was like, yeah, you can sleep over, whatever, like I want to cuddle. I turn over and I see that he has a scratch, not a scratch, but like a puncture on his chest. And I go, oh, what's that? And like I'm cuddling with this guy and he goes,
Stop laughing.
He said, I wanted to cut my heart to show you physically the pain you've caused me. And you know what I did?
What?
I'm going to hell. I go, pretend you're Giuseppe. I go, oh, okay, good night. I swear, I didn't know how to react.
Listen. That man has demons.
Yes.
I look back now, you telling the story as a 30-year-old, that was extremely manipulative of him.
I agree, because what was I supposed to do? Get him a Band-Aid? Say I love you because he cut himself?
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. I immediately think of like Kellen's crazy ex who was like, I'm starving myself until you love me again. It's the same shit. Like, you cannot do that. You can't harm yourself and think that somebody's going to be like, oh, well, I love you now because you're hurting yourself. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can't harm yourself for affection.
That wasn't okay of him.
You know what, though? Looking back now, I had this instant where we were still cordial. We were still like friendly. And I went to his page and I saw he wasn't following me. And this was when I was like, well, with Ryan. Like, I was like living with him. And I DM'd him and I was like, hey, Giuseppe, like, just wanted to see how you were. I was wondering, did I do something? Like, why did you unfollow me? Like, I thought we were good. And he was like, oh, I only follow 420 people. And Rhea, you were one of them. So he unfollowed me, but kept like you and like random, you know what I mean? At 420.
Blaze it.
I definitely dodged a bullet.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys would have had, if you stayed together now, you would have had the most tumultuous, abusive, insanely toxic relationship, and you would have had like the most beautiful like 4-year-old.
Yeah. That's a plus. Yeah, it wasn't gonna work.
No.
Okay, what's something that a guy did that was like really sweet?
My Mark, at one point in our like 4-year relationship, had to live in China for work, which is crazy to think about now. And this was like really toward the end. Like, we were just really forcing it at this point. It was like it was the beginning of the end. We were fighting all the time, and I ended it. And it was definitely like on a whim. And it was like I knew that we probably weren't going to last, but this was not the way to end it. I was definitely being like a brat, and I was like, we're done. I can't handle this anymore. And then like I go to bed. The next day kind of like passes. It's evening. I hear a knock at the door. I assume it's my Postmates. It's Mark. And he had flown like the 24 hours or whatever with layovers and stuff to come and essentially be like, I will do whatever it takes to make this work. And they only had another 7 hours before they had to get back on a flight to China because they were like in the middle of working and like couldn't take off.
That is such a movie.
Yeah. He also one time has like a please take me back present, gave me a vintage Cartier tank that I still wear to this day.
Mark, if you're out there, we love you. We love you.
We love you.
We love you.
This is why you're coming to my wedding.
Okay, mine, aside from Ryan's grand gesture at Central Park with the mariachi band.
Which was amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. But this episode isn't about our partners right now. This episode is about our past.
Yeah.
I was seeing this guy. Let's name him James.
Okay.
James was also obsessed with me.
Who isn't?
In a way where, like if I liked something, like if I liked John F. Kennedy, which I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
He would learn everything about John F. Kennedy there is.
It's so ick.
So ick. Because it's like, I wish he would have naturally liked that thing.
Yeah.
He was on stage one time, though. He was a drummer. Great drummer. I love musicians. Sue me. I think it's the passion that I like. Like when somebody's doing something so passionate, I'm like, okay. So he looked hot drumming. And where was I? Was I in the crowd?
Yep. I remember you were upset because he got you GA tickets and you were like, this is not a GA mouth.
Yes, this is not a GA mouth. So he got me tickets to a show, and I had texted him like, you look so hot right now or something. In the middle of the set, while he's on stage, he texts me back. This man's playing the drums and texting me back.
I also want to preface, by the way, that this isn't some fucking local show. This was like the fucking Palladium. I don't know if it was the Palladium, but it was like a Palladium-esque cap room.
It was really hot.
It was insane. You could see, we watched it happen. This man pulled out his phone in between songs.
We both turned to each other. You and I were there, right?
Yeah.
And we go,
Singers riffing on stage, just doing a transition. This man's texting Gabby. That is definitely an if he wanted to, he would.
that is so real.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it weren't for the other stuff, I probably would have gone for him.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, hell yeah.
It just like wasn't a personality match, but like
It wasn't.
he is actually a good, cool person
Yeah.
and really did like you and would have been a good partner. It just wasn't like the right fit.
I agree.
I'm trying to think of any more good cringe stories I have. I do have the very iconic one.
What are you going to name him?
Tall.
Okay, tall.
He was so tall.
He was very tall.
Like, I'm not kidding, like maybe 6'5", 6'6".
wasn't he like a personality?
Still is to this day. Like
yeah.
an influencer.
Yeah.
Which honestly,
I love that I said personality and you said influencer.
No, he's like a full on just like, I think he's one of those like hot guys who's like an influencer real estate agent vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Come tour this $4 million penthouse, that kind of vibe. And let me show you my pecs.
Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
up. Again, not my type, but you know, enamored.
But he was hot.
This man was so beautiful, and I don't even really usually go for like objectively beautiful men, but it was so beautiful. I was like, I'm not gonna not, you know what I mean? He lived in New York, so we were kind of at this point just like, you know, flirting, talking, FaceTiming, sexting vibe. But the first time we ever sexted, also I had this very weird thing in my 20s where I loved sexting men and getting them to like send me photos, but I wouldn't send them any. It's just like a funny power thing. He sent me a photo. And this man had a gorgeous body, so I don't know why he did this. It was a mirror selfie, right? So he's standing in front of a mirror, phone, dong out, huge, but out with a t-shirt on. He's Winnie the Poohing. Tops, no bottoms. Why? You'd think that would be bad enough. It gets worse. The t-shirt said, if looks could kale.
I'll never get over that. Like, why would you not change your shirt?
Or take it off. You have a literal 8-pack.
Why do you own that shirt?
And why do you own that shirt? That Etsy ass fucking shirt.
I think it had
A kale leaf. It had a kale leaf.
In my head, like to make it, you know, when we like exaggerate stories, it's a kale leaf with a smiley.
I don't even know if this is real or if I've just like have remembered it this way, but it's like heather gray.
Yeah.
You know, like it's an Etsy shirt. It's an Etsy handmade.
Wait, how did you respond?
I think I like pretended it was hot.
Yeah, you probably hearted it.
And sick.
Yeah.
Like I was probably just like, ooh, nice.
It looks good, Kale. You made a fucking veggie joke.
And then I definitely like for sure ghosted after that. There's some things you can't get past.
And you know what? That is the 20s experience.
Yeah.
Seeing something that's so cringe and just being like, he's hot.
But he's
like,
so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me too was like a good lesson in standards. It's like this man is hot and he's successful but you know what? Like this is not a vibe.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm glad to be sitting here, you engaged, me married, with the partners we're supposed to have.
Me too, honestly. And I'm glad that we like met them when we did.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful that I'm grateful for every experience we had, good or bad.
And it's cute that we were in each other's lives during them. You know,
the fact that we experienced all of these things together is so actually genuinely crazy.
It's so cute.
I love this episode.
Me too. It was cute to go down memory lane. And honestly, I want to hear your guys' stories.
Please.
We cannot be the only people in the world who have had crazy stories.
Please, God.
It doesn't have to be a Disney guy. It doesn't have to be a CW guy. Looks good, Kale. But just tell us a story.
Please tell us a good, funny, terrible story. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave it a good review. It really helps out the show. Leave it a like or comment if you're watching on YouTube. And we will talk to you soon. Bye.